people driven change,
civic engagement.
social accountability.
Welcome to Stawi Podcast. Hello, viewers, and welcome to our new episode of Ustawi Podcast. My name is Leocadia Gaudentia. Today, we are going to discuss the current issues, and with me in studio is Enock Onkoba, who is a governance expert and a policy analyst. Welcome, Enoch.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Tell us more about you.
What is there to say? Just that I'm a young man, born and bred in a place called Molo, the county of Nakuru in this republic. Um, Doing some business here and there to make a living and survive. Um, a bit of politics and just to want to know what goes on in my country day in, day out.
So, the president made a proposal that 2.7% should be deducted monthly for the NHIF. And we've had like quite a lot happening in the NHIF. We've had a point where patients could not be served using NHIF. And then there were allegations of the collusion between the people at NHIF and private hospitals. What do you say about that?
Uh, First and foremost, I think we have to look at the history we've had with NHIF, the history we've had with our health sector in general. You remember there's a time we used to refer to, I think even today, we refer to Afya House as Mafia House. Um it's because of the very many issues we've had with our health system, and mostly the NHIF. You can talk about KEMSA and the COVID billionaires and everything you want to talk about in the NHIF or in the health sector. Coming to the proposal, it's not a bad proposal per se. Just that it's time now that I think this government has gotten to a point where it's now pricking the working class, the middle class, as we may call it, and everybody is now feeling the pinch. We've had people contribute what is not commensurate to their pay, what is not commensurate to probably the services they get. However, uh, I think the president or the Kenya Kwanza government should have first of all looked into better management of the whole health sector first, because it's not the first time we've heard about NHIF not paying for patients, or the first time we've heard about NHIF staff colluding with the private sector health, the private health facilities to defraud uh, depositors, or if I can call them that. Government needed to first of all seal the loopholes before you can now tell people pay more, because it came at the heel of just a scandal that was unleashed by one of the media houses in this republic. And when people are still internalizing what they had watched over the media, you come up with a proposal to give more to the same institution that is riddled with very many scandals. So I think the timing was wrong, but the policy itself is good. If we have to achieve universal health care, we need to pay some amount of money for those in the private sector. The proposal is about the household. So it's not, if it's a married couple, it is one person who pays for the household. If it's in the private sector, the same. So it isn't a very bad proposal per se.
Okay. The other issue that is an issue of interest to every Kenyan right now is the High Court ruling on the CAS positions. Um, wow. you know,
Quite
um,
hot.
I don't know, like the High Court has ruled that the CAS positions is unconstitutional. So, the issue about the constitutionality of the
Of
CAS
the CS. Mhm,
positions,
mhm.
considering the fact that they've already been sworn in, and there was an order by the court that they don't receive remuneration or they don't assume office. So, what's your thought on that?
Um, I think there's a way that it appears to have been the president thought of coming up with the CS 27 more. The court had initially, uh, that was I think in 2018, approved of the request by the president then, Uhuru Kenyatta, to come up with some CS positions because the law gives him that room, that in conjunction with the PSC, he can come up with some offices that will enable his government run. Uh, he did that back then. The real issue, or the main issue with the current petition was that the president did not do public participation for him to appoint the 50 CASs. However, there was some public participation before, but the public participation, if you go to the Gazette notice that was given then, was to ask the people whether they're in support of the president appointing 23 CASs. That went through. The court granted him that leave. But instead of appointing 23, he went ahead and appointed 50. And that is now the bone of contention. So constitutionally, the CSs, 23 of them are legal. 27 are illegal. So the ruling that happened yesterday, was it yesterday or the day before? On Monday. On Monday. Now leaves as hanging somehow because they are the 23. Now the president is on a crossroad. He has 50 CSs, 23 who are rightfully or constitutionally appointed, 27 who are unconstitutionally appointed. So he has to make a choice of who is drop and who is not drop.
He doesn't have a choice of doing public participation
He
for the
doesn't have a choice of
27.
doing public participation for 27 because that window is closed
Hmm.
unless now he does a fresh request to the Public Service Commission. They see it. Public Service Commission agrees, although I've seen they also, in the appeal, the Public Service Commission is also sort of a respondent, or
Mhm.
yes, uh, they start the whole process again. That together with the Public Service Commission, they start again, re-advertise the positions, reappoint, and then swear them in with public participation. Yes.
Do you think that the 50 CASs are like a baggage to the wage bill?
Um, yes and no. Yes and no. Yes, because we've we just from an electioneering period,
Mhm.
our economy was hit hard due to the COVID-19 pandemic. We have a global economic recession. The food prices are skyrocketing each and every day.
Mhm.
We have inflation at levels that we've never gotten to. So the people are feeling the pinch. There is that burden the people are feeling. When you bring in another 27 CSs, and the president came into office with a campaign slogan that ni uchumi kwanza, sio kazi kwa watu kadhaa.
Vio baadaye.
Yes, vio baadaye, it the perception about him not caring about the common mwananchi is there.
Mhm.
So that burden makes it's blocks the wage bill. However, if and this is where the no now is, if these CSs are coming in to help the president meet or achieve his plan, as it were, then it's a good thing. If we are going to see or to reap the fruits of them being in office, we don't want to see a situation where, like happened recently, these CSs just being in office, doing nothing, tuanze kuona kwa clubs huko and just partying using our money, if they can deliver the plan, as it were, for the president and the KK government, then I don't think it's a bad thing. Although on the wage bill side, yes, we may have to tighten our belts.
True. Well, let's hope. Okay, I really want to see what the what the president will decide.
I think they've appealed. Let's wait for the appeal process. So they'll still be in office
True.
until
Are they in office
they.
though?
Yes, they are. They've been in office. They were sworn in. They've been earning. So the appeal process continues until they exhaust those appeal processes completely. We may have to see them around for some time.
Okay. On the development agenda, there's an outcry by people from opposition that their leaders are crossing over to the government side in the name of getting development projects in their regions. Is it really necessary for you to be on the same side with the government for you to get the development in your constituency or county? And would you rather like have development or stay loyal and not get the development projects?
Number one, depends on how you define government, because government, as is in the constitution, talks about the executive, the legislature, and the judiciary.
Yeah.
In the legislature, we do not have an opposition; we just have a minority side in parliament. We don't have an opposition in judiciary or in the executive. So it is still the same structure that is government.
Yeah.
And nobody, as you asked the first question about whether you have to be in government to get development, is that the moment we have a government in place, then it serves each and every Kenyan. Because when we go to vote, you vote as a Kenyan, not necessarily as a supporter of party A or party B. You go to the ballot, vote as a Kenyan, and because the constitution gives you that right, it gives you that right to choose the sides that you want to be in, you choose the political leaders that you feel closer to. So once that is done, and we have a government in office, it is the role of government to develop each and every inch of this republic. So you cannot say that because Leokada did not vote for me, I will not have a get water in her village or roads or anything, because government is there to serve each and every one of us. On to the second question of now these MPs or leaders crossing over to work with the Kenya Kwanza government. First of all, it is it takes our country back a bit with regards to party discipline.
Mm-hmm.
And they're doing this because since 2010, we've had MPs in opposition and others in government across the floor and want to work with the other side of the floor.
Mm-hmm.
And we've never really seen one uh, individual get disciplined in a manner that the constitution expects. We've had MPs, you remember, if I can take you now back to the old constitution, in 1994, Raila Odinga was then in Ford, Kenya. He, he raptured us with a few in Ford, Kenya, and decided that he wants to drop Ford Kenya and go get another party. So he formed his party, NDP, and dropped Ford Kenya. He had to go back to the people and seek a fresh mandate. And the people of Langata then elected him back to parliament on a new ticket. So what is happening now is people lacking party discipline. And we, as a country, lacking the measures that are sufficient to enforce party discipline. Once you're elected to parliament, you need to stick because you told your people, I'm going into parliament to do A, B, C, D. CDF does not, for example, CDF, although the Supreme Court said it's illegal, and they're trying to work around it to make it work for them.
They've not worked around it.
They've worked around it. So there's a bill in parliament. They worked around it illegally, though. They're still spending. You see people get bursaries. You go to your village there, you'll see a class being constructed with CDF 2023, 2024, 2022, 2023. So they are still doing a few things here and there, although it was pronounced illegal by the Supreme Court. It does not at any point talk about an opposition member of parliament or an opposition or a government constituency. It only talks about 2.5% that is of the shareable revenue, the national government revenue would be devoted to constituencies now and shared equally. So a constituency in Homa Bay, for example, get the same amount. I think in the year 2021, 2022, they all got around 133 million, each of them. So Molo, that is Kuria Kimani's constituency, he who is the finance committee chairperson, gets 133. Bondo gets 133. Lamu East, for example, gets 133. Garissa, Wajia, each constituency gets these funds equally. It does not segregate or does not now put differences between an opposition MP or a government MP. That's to show you that government has to serve everyone. So if an MP tells you I'm going there to get development, then I think we need to start educating our MPs about what article, I think it's 98 of the Constitution tells them about their role. Number one is representation, legislation,
Oversight.
and oversight. So the issue of bringing development is nowhere in their mandate. They should oversight government and make government bring development to every corner of this republic.
True. So lastly, we have Sabasaba in a few. um, I heard that they want to collect 1 million signatures for removal of office of the president. But does Article 145 really stipulate the collection of the signatures? But anyway, you'll answer that.
It
The other
doesn't. It
thing
doesn't.
is what? The taxes. They feel like the taxes are too much and the government is illegally in office. And what else? Yeah, they feel like Finance Act 2023 is being implemented because of the increase of the fuel taxes. Is this new increase the frequent reviews that EPRA does, or is it courtesy of the Finance Act?
Let me start with that. The fuel increase that is there right now, it shot from 189 to around 195. That's for super, and 170 something to, I don't know, for diesel. First of all, it's because of the increase of the VAT tax on petroleum products, because EPRA issued a gazette notice on 31st of
Of May.
June.
June doesn't have that effect.
No, 30th of June. Yeah, 30th of June. Sorry. Of increasing fuel by, was it 10 shillings or 10, no, six shillings for super, around 10 for diesel, because of the increase in VAT. Initially it was 8%, now it had to be 16%, and they increased it on midnight of 30th June and 1st July. So yes, the increase is because of that review. Your other question was about the Sabasaba now.
And the removal of office.
The removal of office. Article 145 doesn't
It only gives
doesn't
two, I
stipulate
guess.
Mwananchi himself getting or impeaching the president. It only stipulates parliament, and not the National Assembly. It's the Senate.
The Senate, yeah.
No, it's actually the National Assembly, and then it's approved by the Senate. It doesn't stipulate anywhere that Mwananchi has the power, 1 million, 10 million, or whatever the number, that can sign and remove the president from office. Mwananchi can only do that through the ballot, or a revolution, or an uprising. But besides that, I think Azimio is trying to just stay afloat politically.
You don't think that?
I don't think it adds. I don't think it will amount to anything.
You don't think Sabasaba will be an uprising?
We lost the meaning of Sabasaba long ago.
What was the initial Sabasaba?
The initial Sabasaba that happened, I think, in 1990 was about multi-party democracy. They wanted to have. Was it 1889? I think was the first. Was it 89 or 8? Yes, 1989 was the first one. 1990 there was the first Sabasaba. It was, number one, to fight for multi-party democracy. That is the inclusion of article what plus 2A
of the old constitution.
Yes, so that we have multiple parties. So that was the first one. The second one was to push Moi out of office, which constitutionally was not, they weren't able to do it per se then. So Sabasaba coming on as to date, we don't really have that feel. Maybe those who were in the trenches then still think it is a viable option. But the generation that we have right now is in the generation that feels anything, I think, and I think that's where Raila Odinga goes wrong. He's trying to use same tactics he used in 1990 to achieve what he wanted to achieve then, not putting in mind that we have very diverse dynamic or different dynamics at the moment. The voting population is young right now. The voting population that is there now, I think 60%, don't even know what happened in 1990. They were not there. So when you talk about Pio Gamapinto and the likes, they just look at you like a historian. So you tell them about Sabasaba. Yes, a few people might be excited about Sabasaba, but I'm waiting. I'll wait to see. I think it will be a few people will come out in Nairobi. It, it will still be the same thing we saw
At Kamukunji.
at Kamukunji. I don't think they'll have anything, uh, anything to do that will prick the nation in any way.
What do you think would be an alternative? Like what would you tell the Azimio people instead of doing this mandamano or whatever they are calling it? What do you think would solve the issues they have?
They solve it in parliament. They stop walking out of parliament and sit in parliament, debate, convince other members in parliament. Like they walked out of what debate was that recently?
The Senate,
Yes,
when
it was the
Moses
Senate.
Kuria was there.
Yes, how do you oversight government if when a CS is called to the floor of the house, you walk
You
out?
walk out.
You know, uh, we need to get ways of advocating for what we want as a country, not necessarily through the streets. Yes, the street is an option because it's given Article 37. But can we have a mechanism of doing advocacy without street protests? Because number one, we are just from a pandemic, we just from an electioneering period. You want to destabilize the economy. There was a report released by Juguna Ndungu yesterday, the central bank. Juguna Ndungu, yes, the central bank chairperson. How do you call him? Director. By central bank, let me say, yesterday, that the economy has been stabilizing from the month of March to, no, I think the first quarter of this year, that's January to March, the economy started improving. And then if we bring in street protests again, when we are having the economy's recovery, is not a good thing for the country. I would urge the opposition and the Honorable Raila Odinga to reconsider. There was a bipartisan team that they selected together with the president to try and resolve these myriad of issues that they had. And they still walked out of the same team. They're not willing to sit. I'd tell him to get new tricks, perhaps to do his advocacy.
Okay. Or even write petitions and memoranda and present it to the people,
To the people,
in
yes.
parliament. Okay, to
In
the
parliament.
leaders in parliament
For
action.
Although parliament as well looks like it is an appendage of the executive. When you hear a senator like Gerald Gay talk about the finance bill, we will pass it, whatever, come what may. We need to get out of that attitude.
True.
And form some conciliatory mood in the country. Let the president, because he got the job, and all avenues of verifying whether he got the job right said he did it right. So let us not destabilize our own country. Let us work towards stabilizing this country for the better. Because I always tell people that if death were to occur by virtue of age alone, then some of us would be here longer than William Ruto, will be here longer than Raila Odinga, and with most of those who are in government. So even as the opposition calls for Sabasaba, let the young people themselves now think about how to build a better future for themselves, because government can never do it for them.
Sure.
It is them to choose and know that this country belongs to us more than it does belong to those people who are now in their bonus years. Yes.
Okay. Thank you so much. That was basically it for today.
Yes.
Thank you for coming. Do you have a parting shots?
Not really. I want to thank you for having me again, and just call upon each and every one of us as a country. As I said, uh, this country, we hold it in trust uh, of our future generations. So let us take care of it now and preserve it for the future generations. Sabasaba or not, uh, taxes or not. And I think there's a question I forgot to answer about introduction of taxes. I don't think government has introduced new taxes. They just increased the tax that has been that have been there. Some percentage lowered here, some percentage increased here, and I think we, as a country, need to develop some reading culture.
True.
Not to let the media or the politicians do it for us. The finance bill was a good bill. There are very many things in there for,
It's currently the Finance
yes,
Act.
kind of the Finance Act. There are very many things in there for the common mwananchi.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, the housing bit is neither here nor there. Let's not kill a messenger just because he brought a message that we don't like. Yes.
Sawa sawa. Thank you. Um, Thank you for joining us for this episode. See you on the next. Bye.